So if you're struggling with some hand and wrist tension at the trombone and don't have much money to pay for equipment, I've got possibly the cheapest solution for you today. Stick around and let's nerd out with some gear talk. So before we kick off here today, I've had some terrible news from the Trombone Detective Society that you guys are not subscribing. So hit subscribe now. If you can't get off the couch, then use your slide. Come on, support a trombone player. So the talk about hand and wrist strain at the trombone is certainly not letting up. In fact, I might even argue to say that in recent corona lockdown times, we've become more immobile and bodily strains are likely to be on the rise, even at the trombone. Even late last night, I received a comment on a YouTube video of mine from Douglas. I play this single valve Rath bass trombone. The left wrist is killing me and the cramping goes to the fingers, while there can be a pulling, sharp or just dull pain in the underside of my arm. Hurts and keeps me from typing this now. I guess at 54 I'm too old. I don't know what to do. Can't hold it even with ergobone, which I have. It's really getting me down and is taking much away from me. I can't afford a doctor and don't know what to do, so I thought I'd ask. Now this is fateful because I was planning to do this video anyway, but as you know, there's no such thing as coincidences. So what have I got here? Happened to buy this in a supermarket actually, but a hardware store might be the place you find it regularly. Elastic strap with Velcro on both sides. Wrap that around the brace. I could actually use two for even more support, but this is what it would look like. So what options do you and Douglas have when we're suffering here at the hands? Let's talk about hand straps, hand rests, hand supports. For example, this is the Tyne contrabass trombone from the 80s, and you can see the hand strap there. It still comes now with a hand strap. It may be slightly different, but their basic design has stayed the same. It's quite wide, which I like, and it's very firmly attached with two screws here. So this one, for example, from Michael Rath is probably the cheapest one of the basic hand rests that clamp to the bell stay, going at roughly $150. And I tried to connect it to my cancel and it was just wobbling all over the place. I'm sure a tech can maybe help me, but it failed the idiot-proof test. The Hagman and the Tyne are much more solid in how they screw onto the stay. So this just doesn't cut it for me. Also, look how thin that is compared to the Tyne that I just showed you. I personally like that width against the hand, and it probably provides more support too. There's also companies such as Hagman making fantastic hand rests, but the thing is, both of these companies are of course taking a premium price. I just saw the Hagman is retailing now at roughly $400, and I can imagine that Tyne would take at least that too. They're quality products, but most of us don't have the money when we need it, right? So I'm going to talk about a cheaper option right now. So this may sound ridiculous, but this is seriously only going to cost you about $1. There was a packet of 2 or 4, I think, in this one. And what is it? It's just an elastic band with some strong Velcro, and you can literally just wrap that around the brace. So here you can see it's wrapped around the upper slide brace and the bell stay. I was even experimenting with getting 2 around there for even more support. So it may seem a bit ridiculous right now. I'm looking at my YBL 612 here, and I've got no less than 4 supports. Actually, my usual ergo bone support would be here. That would be 1. Here's the Edwards bullet brace, 2. This is the Jupiter hand rest for tenor trombone, which I'll make a video on next week. And now I've got the elastic band here. So it's almost like an arms race. There's not much trombone left under those supports, you might say. But hey, I'm just reducing tension, right? And as I'm seeing the whole time, your body's not getting more flexible with age in general, and eventually things buckle. So is this a serious competition for the big companies' hand rests? Well, I would say it's certainly worth checking out. Of course, it's not as solid, it's not as fixed as the Tyne, the Hagman, the Rath, but this elasticity may actually be what some people are looking for. You know, the fixed position hand may not be ideal for the pain you're currently going through. I actually had the Hagman once too, and stupidly I sold it, but I remember the issue being that I was constantly having to wiggle it around until it got flush onto my hand, and even then it was either a case of it was a little bit too firm and eventually reduced blood flow to the hand, or it was too loose and not doing its job. So really check this option out and experiment. As I said, with the second one, it gets more firmer as well, depending on how tightly you clasp it. A second advantage, which to busy players packing their instrument in and out of cases, is simply that it fits right in the case. I remember the Hagman one needing to be unscrewed every time so that the case could close. So that's an interesting advantage too. So the key word here is experiment. That's the cool thing with this kind of Velcro. You can adjust the tightness, the distances almost endlessly, and it may be exactly what you're looking for as a stopgap or even as a more permanent solution. So just finally, to give my story and maybe some advice to people like Douglas who are suffering with some chronic issues. I was on crutches for 6 weeks this year and got unbelievable hand pain in both hands, to the point that I wasn't playing at all anymore. I wasn't typing anything. It was just chronic. It wasn't going away. I happened to find a great physiotherapist who also did chiropractic, and he found out that the issue was actually coming from the wrist itself, and he's been loosening the wrist with some fast chiropractic motions, and the pain is basically gone. So I'd never have come to that conclusion that the finger pain is coming from the wrist, but of course it could be coming from anywhere. It could be coming from the neck as well, especially for trombonists. So I urge you, Douglas, and other people to not give up. There's always a solution, is what I found, and that's what we're trying to do here, is trombone troubleshoot and talk through the options we have available. Some very expensive, in this case actually pretty damn cheap, possibly the world's cheapest trombone support. Happy sliding, stay healthy, see you next time.